Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified Doctor of Naturopathy, Dr. Stephen Cabral, shares with you exactly how you can reverse aging, take back your health, and live a life full of energy and passion, with new 20-minute episodes every single day to keep you healthy and engaged. Now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here today, brand new Cabral Concept. Excited to talk about longevity, anti-aging, and a diet plan that was released just about a year or so ago, maybe just a little bit more. And it was by a colleague of mine. She does amazing work. Wanted to highlight some of that work and actually share with you some of the learnings from this particular study, what it did for biological age and reversing biological age, which means helping people grow younger. Believe it or not, yes, you can actually grow younger biologically, but also what we can learn from it as to what may be improved in the future as well. So I'm going to dive right into it. This is Dr. Fitzgerald and some of her actual colleagues. I will link it up today. All the links, of course, will be at stephencabral.com/2764. Today's show notes, 3 big takeaways, and then the other longevity shows, if you haven't checked them out, will be at stephencabral.com/2764. And again, this was published just a little while back. And what I want to do is dive right into it. So what they found was that the participants scored an average of 1.96 years younger, where the controls averaged about 1.27 years older. So the people that were not part of getting the placebo actually decreased average biological age, and I'll explain that in just one moment, by 1.96 years, where the people that weren't on the program actually increased average age by about 1.27 years older, so slightly more aged in terms of the biology. What this means is that we know that we can't change our chronological age. If you're 45 years old, you're 45 years old chronologically. However, that 45-year-old could have a biological age of 37. They could have a biological age of 42, or they could have a biological age of maybe 48. So the goal, though, is that internally and externally, we are trying to grow younger. While we can't stop the chronological age, we can begin to slow down the aging process. This study does a really good job of showing that, and it's mainly through nutrition, although they did some relaxation response with breath work, which I loved, and they also added 30 minutes per day of exercise and movement. So those were all really great modalities to add into it. I do want to share some findings from this study before we dove into what they ate. Actually, I'm going to save those for right after I share with you what they ate, which was obviously the majority of this particular study. So let's go over it. This was only done for 8 weeks. So they got all these results in only 8 weeks' time. That's what also makes it that much more remarkable, because I've shared other studies where you've gotten 3+ years biological age reversal and much more. This one seems like it could really fit with many people's lives. And so if you haven't really started on a longevity-based diet, this might be a good place to start. So again, because a lot of people, they're following paleo, they're following maybe even, some low carb, you could work this into it. All right. So here it is. This is only once per week. So once per week, or maybe like a maximum of twice, they would add in a few servings of liver. So one serving of liver is basically 3 ounces. So 1, 2, or 3 days a week, you could do 1 serving or so, and then you would get all of the nutrients from liver. Again, if you're following a vegan-based diet, this isn't necessarily going to work. I understand that, but I wanted to share with you what the study says. All right, so over the week, 5 to 10 eggs. Now, that's a lot of eggs. And I actually think that was detrimental to some people in the study. Not for everyone, but again, when you look really deep into people's genetics, you start to understand that there are actually different genotypes. And when you look at that, you say, okay, there's an ApoE2 genotype, an ApoE3, and ApoE4. I'm almost willing to bet it harmed the people who are the ApoE4. And I don't have an issue with eggs. I'm not saying that at all. But 5 to 10 a week is a good amount of eggs. Again, I know the people who were like me back in the day, and you're eating a half a dozen eggs a day. It's a different story. Now, again, I was in my early 20s trying to put on a lot of muscle. It's very anabolic. It's a very easily absorbed food. However, it is inflammatory for some based on food sensitivities. And for those with an ApoE3/4 or 4/4 genotype, might not be the best choice, even if they are organic or they're free range, et cetera, pasture raised, et cetera. Okay. So anyway, a few times per week, you're going to get in a total of 5 to 10 eggs, and then you're going to get in 3 servings of liver. All right. But what are you doing now on a daily basis? Because that's really what we want to look at. Okay. On a daily basis, I will say on a daily basis, you're going to need to eat like 1 to 2 eggs, right? To make that 5 to 10 a week, but that's neither here nor there. So guidance per day, 2 cups of dark leafy greens. So it's basically you're making yourself a salad, like 2 handfuls of salad. You can do that, right? So raw, chopped, and packed. So that means pack down that cup. And it can include kale or Swiss chard or collard or spinach or dandelion or mustard greens. It does not include things like romaine or iceberg was part of this study, or maybe even a spring mix, which is interesting because a spring mix could have others in there. But again, you have their dark leafy greens: kale, Swiss chard, collards, spinach, dandelion, mustard greens. All right. And then every single day, 2 cups of cruciferous vegetables. Mustard greens could be in there, could include broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, bok choy, arugula, kale, mustard greens. We mentioned that, but they really want those mustard greens in there. Watercress, rutabaga, kohlrabi, radish, Swiss chard, and turnips. All right. So 2 cups of those a day. So 2 cups, basically a salad, and then 2 cups cruciferous vegetables. And then for the rest of the day, 3 cups colorful vegetables of your choice, excluding corn, sweet corn, or white potatoes. Okay. So when we're looking at this, we're basically saying, okay, 2 cups of dark leafy, 2 we got of the cruciferous, and we've got 3 vegetables. And so we're already at 2, 4, 7, right? And I'm always talking about 7 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Well, on this, 1 or 2 medium beets was also added. Interesting, right? So we're getting another serving there as well. And then I know that there is recommendations for berries as well. That was absolutely allowed on this, but just could be a little bit lower carb too. And then here it is right here, a half a cup of berries per day. Okay. Excuse me. 4 tablespoons, which is about 1/4 of a cup of pumpkin seeds, 4 tablespoons of sunflower seeds, or sun butter, 1 serving of, again, half a cup of berries, a half teaspoon of rosemary, could be ground rosemary, a half a teaspoon of turmeric, 2 medium garlic cloves a day, 2 cups of green tea, 3 cups of oolong tea, 6 ounces of animal protein. Okay, so grass-fed, pastured, organic, ideal, and not eating at between 7 at night to 7 in the morning. So there's your 12-hour intermittent fast. And now some healthy oils were allowed, which was coconut oil, olive oil, flaxseed, and pumpkin seed oil. Avoiding any sugar, candy, dairy, grains, legumes, and beans, and minimizing your plastic containers. Okay, so again, I want to break this down one more time because I want to make this easy for you if you're trying to set it up. Essentially, for the most part, they ate 1 egg, maybe 2 or so in the morning. Maybe they had some of their berries with it as well. Then at lunch, again, I'm just coming up with a sample meal plan for you. They would have had, let's say they had their salad at lunch. Okay. So they did a salad at lunch. They put some beet on top, and they used some olive oil, some nice healthy olive oils there. And let's say that they did some liver, or we'll say at lunch, right? We'll add a little bit of there for the protein. And then at dinner, they did 6 ounces of animal-based protein. They did 2 cups of cruciferous-based vegetables on the side. Again, maybe some healthy oil. And that's when they added in their spices, their rosemary, their turmeric, etc. Now, with each meal, they would have a cup or 2 of either green tea or oolong tea. And they would add that garlic again to that dinner most likely as well. So you can make it, I mean, this is fairly straightforward, right? Like, so this is not too bad to follow. There's some nuances for sure in there. And again, I can link up the study for you as well. But then they added some nutritional supplements. Not too many, not too many at all, but some. And it was a greens powder, so basically a fruit and vegetable type blend. They added a probiotic, a Lactobacillus plantarum, $2.99 if you're looking for the specific version. They try to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night, and they exercise for 30 minutes a day for at least 5 days a week of a moderate to more intensity. So like 60 to 80% of maximum perceived exertion. So maybe some more, not like jogging, running, weight training, HIIT training, etc. And then twice a day, they try to do what's called the relaxation response through essentially breath work. And I can link that up too. So that can take place of a meditation or something like that. Now, so it's if you're coming from a background of not really following this type of diet, certainly going to be more intense. There's no doubt about it. Totally agree with you. But they were trying to get, I think, the max amount of results in just 8 weeks' time. So what I want to share with you now are those results. I did say that the average of the group, they grew younger by 1.96 years in just 8 weeks. So they'd be like taking, again, the biological age, let's say of 45, right? Chronological and biological were both 45 years old. They followed this program for 8 weeks. They decreased their biological age. Now they're at about 43 years old. Pretty impressive. I mean, really pretty impressive, and had a really strong accuracy on that as well. Now, here's the thing though, only 18 participants, okay? But it's still, again, it's a preliminary study. We like that. But only 8 scored 8 reduction out of the 18, so less than 50%. 9 were unchanged, and 1 increased in methylation age. So when you actually look at this study and you break it down a bit more, what you have to understand is that 10 people out of the 18 didn't get results. 8 people did. And when I look at this, I say, and I can kind of understand it, it's because this plan wouldn't necessarily work for everyone. And again, I'm not privy to how all of the different subjects were chosen, but I know that they did a great job choosing a wide range of people. So I think that that's pretty fantastic. The issue that I'm looking at specifically is that if, like, let's go down the line. Let's start with exercise. If you haven't been exercising and you're all of a sudden doing 30 minutes or more a day at 60 to 80% of your max perceived exertion, you could create quite a bit of inflammation in the body. So we're typically saying literally like the walk, there's no crawl, right? But as adults, but we've got walk, and then we have the run or the bike, the aerobic, and then we get into the weight training, and then we get into more of the HIIT-based training, right? So we kind of work our way up so there's not massive inflammation in the body. The other thing that I want to look at is nutritional supplement-wise, they allowed people to have whatever they were kind of using before, but didn't necessarily recommend omega-3s or vitamin D or a lot of the other products that we know do help with biological age. All right, so that's just one part to it. Now let's look at diet. So when we look at diet, not everybody is going to do great. I'm not saying that liver can't be a very nutritious food. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that, all right? And same with eggs. 2 very nutritious foods, loaded, right, with B vitamins, B12, and so much more. The problem is it just doesn't work for everyone, right? So that's just one interesting thing to look at it. And also, I don't know if there was caloric restriction. I know there was a timing restriction from 7 to 7, which I'll touch on in a moment, but I don't know if there was caloric restriction. And we know caloric restriction alone can decrease biological age by a couple of years. So that would be pretty impressive. To me, everything else really looked on point. I don't know that I would have removed the legumes because I do know from other biological age-based studies, increase in the fiber, beans, legumes can actually be quite beneficial. But I do agree that for some people, until they fix their digestive issues, it could lead to bloating and gas and other issues. So totally understand that. Overall, I think it's really well done. Again, we can nitpick, we could talk about certain things, but I think that they did an amazing job and they got good results. They really did. I know only 8 out of the 18 got the results, but the 8 people did, and it was such a small window. I would have loved to see this run over 6 months and really have people stick with it and probably give them a once a week flex meal to be able to, come off the diet for a specific meal. And then 7 at night to 7 in the morning, I think that's great. Obviously, that's to keep compliance. But if they were to make that 5 or 6 at night to, let's say, like 8 o'clock in the morning or so to increase that intermittent fasting even just a little bit more, I still think that the results could have been greater. I love the addition of the green tea. We know that EGCG is one of the best things that you can do to add to your diet right away for the improved biological age. And it's really nice that they added rosemary. Almost nobody adds rosmarinic acid or rosemary. And I see that in my studies over and over and over that can be a really great one as well. Powerful, powerful antioxidant, antifungal, anti-mold, mycotoxins, and much more. So wanted to bring that to you this week. Again, I will link it up. I think it's a good place to start to work your diet towards this. We do know that it does does work for a good amount of the population. If you're one of the people that this may not work for as most or as much as the others, I do have other previous podcasts on the ApoE-based genotypes and other longevity-based diets, which I will link up today for you at stephencabral.com/2764. Have an amazing rest of the day. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.